Assalamu alaikum everyone. In our previous lecture of apoptosis, we have just done that why apoptosis is needed, and we have seen that this is important in the embryogenesis, this is important in the organogenesis, like resorption of the tadpole tail at the time of metamorphosis into the frogs occurs by the process of apoptosis. Then formation of the fingers. I've shown you in my previous slides that into the interdigital clefts there is a membrane and it is removed by the process of apoptosis. Sloughing of the inner lining of the uterus or the endometrium at the start of the menstruation is going to occur by the process of apoptosis. Then we have proper connection enzymes between the neurons and the brains that are surplus are going to be eliminated by the apoptosis. I have told you that there are so many cells in the organ that we don't need it later in life. So these synaptic junctions which we have excessive cells are going to be removed by apoptosis. Then elimination of the T cells that are going to be mount an autoimmune reactions, or that they are going to self-recognize the cell antigens, and they are going to act against the self-antigen, and they can initiate the autoimmune attacks. They are going to be eliminated by apoptosis. Then in the diseases, cells that are going to be infected with the viruses are going to be killed by the apoptosis. Then we are having the cells of the immune system. As all the mediated immune response effector cells must be removed. I've given you an example in my previous lecture of the COVID-19 that there is a cytokine storm and lots of the inflammatory cells are coming, but after the COVID or the virus has been removed from the body, we do not need these immune type of cells, so these have to be removed, otherwise they are going to affect our own body system. So they are going to be removed by the process of apoptosis. Then we have cytotoxic lymphocytes that are going to induce apoptosis in each other and even in themselves, so they are going to be destroyed by the apoptosis. Then there could be defects in the apoptotic machinery that I have told you, that autoimmune diseases like lupus erythematosus and SLE, rheumatoid arthritis, and these cells have to be eliminated by the apoptosis. Then there are the cells with DNA damage. I have told you, because there is a rapid turnover of the cells in the hyperplasia, in the hypertrophy, and they become cancerous, or there are genomic defects. Then the cells can respond to the damage by increasing the production of P53, and sometimes P53 is a potent inducer of the apoptosis. So by this way, P53 is going to play its role by by destruction of the cells that are already damaged, having the damaged DNA. Then the cancer cells, as my dear students, you know that in the cancer therapy basically two treatment modalities are used. One is radiation and the other ones are the chemotherapy drugs, and both of them these are going to cause the apoptosis in some types of the cancer cells. So now we are going to start with the stages of apoptosis. This is our healthy cells, and whenever it is going to receive the death signal from the outside or within the inside of the cell, then it is become to ready to comment to die, or but at this stage, first of all, when it is going to receive the death signals, if we are going to remove that death signal, then this stage is a reversible one, and the cell can go back to its normal shape or normal state. But when there are the executionary changes are going to happen, and cell are going to show you the condensation. Here you can see that there is a condensation of the cells in the cell size, and there is also a nuclear condensation. Then this is an irreversible process, and then it is later have been taken up by the macrophages, and engulfment can take place, and within the macrophages they have been degraded. So diseases that are associated with the decreased apoptosis includes in cancers, because in cancers there is a rapid growth of the mutated cells, and apoptosis is not playing its role because of the productions of the less of the apoptotic molecules. We are going to discuss it later on, that why BCL2 is going to become mutated and cells are going to undergo rapid production and they are going to develop into the cancers. Like we want to give you example of the follicular lymphomas that are happening in the lymph nodes, carcinomas with P53 mutations. I've just told you that P53 is a guardian of the genome genes and it is playing its important role by increasing the apoptosis in the cancer. But if P53 itself has become mutated, then it cannot control the spread of the cancer. Then we are having the hormone dependent tumors like breast carcinoma, prostatic carcinomas and ovarian carcinomas, in which we have a decreased apoptosis. Then we have autoimmune disorders. I've just told you that if the cells are not killed, we are going to recognize the self antigen like in SLE, rheumatoid arthritis, then autoimmune disorders can happen. Then we have viral infections, because in viral infections cytotoxic T cells are going to induce the damage to the cells, so they have to be killed by the apoptosis. Then there are diseases which are associated with increased apoptosis, as you must have seen about the neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, that in which the brain is going to show the destruction, neurons are going to show you the destruction. Like in Parkinson's, dopamine causing neurons, dopamine releasing neurons are going to decrease in number because of the increased number of the apoptosis. Then in AIDS, non-infected cells which are not affected are going to be died because of the apoptosis. Then we have ischemic injuries. Whenever there is an ischemic injury, there is an infarction, and an infarction, because you are having a less of the oxygen, so the death signals are going to go for the normal cells also, and so there will be death of the normal cells also because of the decrease in the oxygen supply. Then we have toxin-induced liver diseases like in alcohol, fatty disease, cirrhosis, in which we have a cell which are going to die because of the increase in the apoptosis. So my dear students, just remember this thing. I've told you about the diseases that are having the more of the apoptosis, and I've told you about the diseases that are going to have the less of the apoptosis. So the pro-apoptotic proteins and anti-apoptotic proteins should be in balance. Whenever this balance is out, then there is a chances that there is an imbalance, and so we are having a disease pattern that is going to proceed. So what makes a cell that is going to decide for the apoptosis? I've just told you that it is the receipt of the negative signals and the withdrawal of the positive signals that are responsible for the continued survival. So whenever this balance is lost and we have more of the negative signals and we are having the withdrawal of the positive signals for the survival, then the apoptosis can happen. So the continued survival of the cells requires the continuous stimulation, and examples of the positive signals include growth factors for the neurons, interleukin 2 for the mitosis of the lymphocytes, and the other things like insulin growth factors, like hepatocyte growth factors, we do need it. So the receipt of the negative signal is that there is an increased level of the oxidants. We have discussed in our previous lecture about the reactive oxygen species, and I have told you that hydrogen peroxide, nitric oxide, superoxide, whenever their amount is more, then it is also a signal that is showing that the cell has to die, or there is damage or injury to the cell by the UV lights, X-rays. I've just told you about the cancer drugs, chemotherapeutic drugs. Then there could be misfolded proteins. We have discussed that in an irreversible injury, there is a process of the accumulation of the proteins which are the misfolded one, and the cell has to die. So it is receiving a negative signals. So molecules that bind to the specific receptor to the cell surface and they are going to initiate the process of the apoptosis are basically the death activators. And these death activators basically include tumor necrosis factor alpha, TNB, or tumor necrosis factor beta or lymphotoxins, and then we are having a fast ligand. Basically FSL ligand is there on the surface of the cell, and whenever there is a molecule that we are going to call Fas or CD95 are going to bind with this Fas ligand. It's going to initiate the process of apoptosis. So basically, as far as the mechanism of apoptosis is concerned, there are three pathways. One is the intrinsic pathways, in which the death signal is going to be initiated within the cell. Just remember this thing, that it is going to initiate within the cell in the intrinsic pathway. While in the extrinsic pathway, I've just told you about the Fas and Fas ligand, TNF alpha and TNF beta, which is also named as lymphotoxin. So extrinsically, some death activators are going to come and they are going to be attached on the cell surface, and then they are going to initiate the process of apoptosis. Then we have just discussed the oxidative pathway, in which there is an oxidation. More of the oxidative radicals are going to produce, and they are going to trigger the dangerous or reactive oxygen species. So they are going to initiate the oxidative pathways. As far as intrinsic pathway is concerned, just remember, I have just told you that in intrinsic pathway there is no extrinsic death receptors that are going to be attached to the cell surface, and this whole process is going to start within the cell. So the most important thing that is going to initiate the intrinsic pathway within of the apoptosis in a healthy cells, it is the basically BCL2 is very important. Here is a mitochondria, and if you can see in the mitochondria that there is a BCL2 protein on the cell surface. Basically, this BCL has a whole family. BCL2 is the main protein which is going to play its role as it inhibits the apoptosis. Once BCL2 is activated, there is no apoptosis. So BCL2 is inhibiting the apoptosis. But when there is some damage, internal damage to the cell, then this BCL2 level will decrease, and Bax protein, Bax, Bax is going to come to the surface of the mitochondria, where it inhibits the effects of the BCL2, and there will be more of the Bax protein can play its role, and then this is going to cause the punching holes in the membrane of the mitochondria. And whenever there are holes in the mitochondrial membrane, cytochrome C is going to leak outside the mitochondrial membrane. So just remember this thing, very important thing. BCL2 is going to inhibit the apoptosis, but whenever we are having any damage, Bax is going to come to the outer surface of the mitochondria, and this Bax is causing the channel formations or pores formation, and this is going to release the cytochrome C. The cytochrome C is going to bind with the protein apoptotic protease activating factors, or APF1, and then this is going to initiate the process of apoptosis. This whole process is energy provided by the ATP, and this complex are going to form in the form of the apoptosomes, and these apoptosomes are then bind to the initiator caspases. I've just told you about the caspases. This whole process is ATP and caspase dependent pathway. So initiator caspase 9 are going to bind with the apoptosome, and these apoptosomes are generated due to the formation of the bonding between the cytochrome C and the APF, and this cytochrome C has been released from the mitochondria because of the activation of the Bax. I hope this is very much clear to all of you. So again, I'm going to show you again. BCL2, I've just told you, is the anti-apoptotic. So in this side of the panel we have anti-apoptotic genes. So at this side we have pro-apoptotic genes, which have Bax. So whenever there is an internal damage to the cell, then mitochondria is going to release the Bax to the outer surface, and then it is going to form the pores, and from these pores cytochrome C is going to release. Cytochrome C is going to form the active bond with the APF1, and then it is going to cause the formation of the activated procaspase by the cleavage of the procaspase 9, and then this initiator caspases is going to activate the executionary caspase 9, and this executionary caspase 3 is going to activate the cellular proteins, nucleus, and these are going to cause the death of the cell. So my dear student, just remember, in intrinsic pathway, mitochondrial signals are very, very, very important, because these are going to initiate the caspases, and these caspases are going to cause the cross linkages of the cell corpus and engulfment later on. Then we are going to talk about the caspases. I have already told you that there are two types of the caspases. One is initiator caspases, which includes caspase 8 and 9, and other ones are the executionary caspases, which are 3 and 6. And now this caspase families in the later developments have more than 10 members, and these are basically, again I'm telling you that these have having the cysteine proteases and the aspartic acid residue. So my dear student, the important thing is caspase 9 and caspase 3 and 6 are the most important thing that are going to play their role in the intrinsic pathway. As far as extrinsic pathway is concerned, I have told you in my previous slide that in an extrinsic pathway we need signal from outside of the cells, and it is totally different from the intrinsic pathway in which BCL2 or BAX is going to play its role. Actually in this we are having the Fas ligand, and in this CD95 molecule or Fas molecule are going to attach, and this is going to initiate the process of the extrinsic pathway of apoptosis. So binding of the Fas ligand or the TNF alpha or TNF beta, and then it is going to initiate the caspases, first initiator caspases, which is caspase 8 and 9, and then executionary caspases, which is 3 and 6. So after the initiator we are having the activation of the executionary caspases, and later on the same cycle is going to happen, that it will be phagocytosed by the macrophages cell. Again a picture. Here you can see this is a Fas ligand, and Fas molecule is going to be attached. This is a ligand for the TNF alpha or TNF beta, and here the TNF is going to attach. So this is basically a death domain. Death signal is coming here. We are having the adaptive proteins, and these are going to activate the procaspase 8, which is an initiator caspase, and then it becomes active, and this active is going to cause the activation of the executionary caspases, and then there will be the death. So this is a picture of the I've taken from your book, and this picture is very, very, very important. Today's homework is that you have to draw this picture. You have to remember it by heart, both of the processes of intrinsic pathways and the extrinsic pathway. I've just told you in intrinsic pathway the most important signal is coming because of the injury or the radiation or the misfolding proteins, and because of this BCL2 is roles will be eliminated. So BCL2 is is an anti-apoptotic molecule, and the pro-apoptotic like BAX and BAC are going to play its roles, which are the regulators of the apoptotic genes also. And because of the increase in the BAX or BAC, we are having the release of the cytochrome C and the other pro-apoptotic proteins, and these pro-apoptotic proteins are going to go to initiate the process of the activation of the caspases, initiator caspases and executionary caspases later on. So here if we are going to see in an extrinsic pathway, here you can see that after the attachment at the cell surface, this whole process is going to activate, like Fas and TNF. Then there is an initiator caspases after the adaptive molecules activations, and these initiator caspases are going to activate the executionary caspase. And after that we have the similar cycle, because there are the activation of the endonucleases. Endonucleases are the enzymes which are going to cause the fragmentations of the DNA. Then we are having the activation of the phospholipases. We are having the activation of the proteases. So there is a breakdown of the cytoskeleton, and we are having the formations of the apoptotic bodies, and these apoptotic bodies are going to be engulfed by the phagocytosis. So this is a very, very simple example, I'm telling you this is a viable cell, and you know I've told you that in a viable cells we need survival signals all the time. So growth factors, insulin-like growth factor, hepatocyte growth factor, or alpha growth factors are coming, and these are going to have an important role of the BCL2 because it is an anti-apoptotic. So cytochrome C is going to remain within the cell. So there is no leakage of the cytochrome C in a viable cell. But in an apoptosis, there is a lack of the survival signal. We are having the DNA damage, we are having the activation of the BAX or BAC, which are the antagonist of the BCL2, we are having the release of the cytochrome C, and because of the release of the cytochrome C, we have the activation of the caspases and apoptosis is happening. So my dear students, you have to draw this diagram and you have to send us in with your presence. Then again I'm telling you about the executionary pathway. FAS or FAS ligand is going to be attached. This is a death receptor. That domain is going to be activated, and this death domain is going to activate the pro-caspase into the active caspase, and this active caspase 8 is going to activate the 3 or 6 executionary caspases, and then the apoptosis is happening. The most important role is the apoptosis inducing factors. Basically, this apoptosis inducing factor is very, very important as it is located into the intermembranous space of the mitochondria. And whenever the cell is going to receive a signal that is we are going to say that it's a death signal, this apoptosis inducing factor is going to be released from the mitochondria just like a cytochrome C. Then it is going to go into the nucleus, it is going to bind to the DNA, and then it is going to cause the destruction of the DNA and the cell death. So this is very, very important, because whenever I have told you, whenever we don't have caspases, what is this? So this is caspase independent. So we are having the apoptosis inducing factors. So this is very, very important. It does not use caspases. So without the caspases, we are having apoptosis inducing factors, and basically it is within the neurons and other cells which have the weight of the self-destruction. My dear student, just remember this thing, that in a body, when it is infected with some virus, both of the processes of necrosis and apoptosis are going side by side. So this is not a single line that it is going to be drawn within the body, because in some processes both of the processes of apoptosis and necrosis are going to happen. And here this is a picture of the apoptotic bodies. Here you can see this is a condensation of the chromatin. Again, a chromatin is condensed, and this is a formation of the whole of the apoptotic body. You can see a pycnotic nucleus, and this is very much against the normal cell size. As you can see, these cells have shown this shrinkage, so it can normally be seen in the normal body. So my dear students, today we have finished the apoptosis. Inshallah, in our next lecture we are going to start with the intracellular accumulation. Thank you very much.